Let's get straight into it. You are here to learn the piano in 1 year, so we don't have a lot of time to waste. I'm going to give you some outcomes for the year, a full plan for the year, and a way of measuring your success. So the first thing we have to do is define what learning the piano is for you. Do you already play the piano? Are you a complete beginner? If you already play a little bit, or even a lot, then you can adjust your goals to suit you. But this strategy and plan will definitely help you become a more well-rounded player. 1 year is not a lot of time to master anything, so we have to be efficient and break down what learning the piano actually means. There are 5 main areas that make up learning the piano. We have reading, technique, improvisation, oral skills, and theory. So we need to set some goals for the end of the year based on these 5 things. So, for reading, after 1 year you can aim to be able to read right hand, so the treble clef, and left hand, so the bass clef, pretty easily. You should also be able to count all the different note lengths in real time when you are playing. As well as this, you should be able to read and understand sharps, flats, and natural signs, and be able to play the piano in different key signatures. For those that don't know what a key signature is, well, this is a good place to start. However, in simple terms, it is just where there are sharps and flats written at the beginning of the line and applied to all of the notes of that letter name, rather than writing them next to every single note. Technique is a tricky one to plan for because you will generally only know what techniques you need to work on when you find problems through playing. However, there are some general technical skills that you will need to be able to do, but just know that you may have to add to these as you keep playing and find things that are particularly difficult for you. So for technique, I would aim to be able to play any major or minor scale and any major or minor arpeggio. I would also try and make sure you have a good set of challenging exercises to warm up with. These can change depending on what techniques you need to work on, but the Dozen a Day series of books or the Hannon 60 exercises books both include a good set of exercises to focus on specific techniques. And I will include a link to those in the description. For improvisation, this once again depends on your specific circumstances. However, for general learning, you will want to be able to comfortably make up chord sequences and melodies on the spot using scales and chords. You might also be interested in learning jazz chords or scales. You can delve deeper on any specific genre of playing that you want. But the idea is that you will have the basics to be able to build upon. So oral skills simply refers to your ability to hear and use your ears. So for this, you should be able to work out songs by ear, you should be able to hear the difference between major and minor, and you should be able to roughly predict the distance between 2 notes. And music theory. Now, music theory to me is perhaps the most important of all the areas I've previously mentioned, because this is what is going to enable you to play by ear or improvise or read music. So for music theory, you should be able to understand major scales and keys and all of the types of minor scales. You should understand how to construct major, minor, major 7th, minor 7th, diminished 7th, and dominant 7th chords and what their functions are. You should also be able to understand music cadences. You can tweak these objectives if you are already on your way with playing the piano, or you want to go in a specific direction with your piano playing. However, this is a good set of outcomes for anyone to be able to achieve in 1 year, and these will make you a well-rounded player. I'm not saying that it will be easy, but it will definitely be doable. So now that you have some objectives, we need to set out a plan and some ways of measuring your success. So we know what you need to learn over the year. Let's set a plan. In this plan, there may be a lot of things that you don't understand, but I would recommend concentrating on the month that you are on and spending some time figuring out the concepts for that month as you go. There is a link in the description to download this plan as a PDF. And there is also a link to 22 free piano sight reading exercises from my sight reading exercises book, which is available to download. So, in month 1, you want to focus on middle C and the 5-note hand position in both hands. And to do this, I would use Pam Wedgwood's It's Never Too Late to Play Piano book and A Dozen a Day book. The A Dozen a Day book focuses on exercises and techniques, but mainly uses those first 5 notes in each hand. In Pam Wedgwood's book, it separates the hands and starts with those first 5 notes as well, and in the first month, this is what you are going to want to focus on. You are also going to want to learn the different note lengths and how bars work, and you are going to want to learn about key signatures and what a scale is. And to do this, I would learn C major and G major scale. And if you get through these, I would also learn D major scale hands separately, but focus on the fingers. And a good book for this is the Scales Bootcamp book, which I will also leave a link in the description for. In month 2, you're going to want to learn notes out to an octave in each hand and learn about dynamics. You also want to learn about different time signatures, so add D, A and E major scales. In month 3, I would learn to read notes beyond the octaves in both hands, maybe learn about triads. Triads are just a basic 3-note chord. And I would learn the triads used in C major and G major. I would also introduce some Hanon exercises to warm up with. In month 3, you are also going to want to separate out sight reading and learning music. So you're going to want to start learning more challenging pieces of music over several weeks. And while you are doing this, I would use sight reading exercises as well. And for this, I would recommend my sight reading book, which there is a link to in the description. Use the 22 free exercises first, and then maybe consider getting the 470 exercises that I've written, if you find those to be useful. Alternatively, there is the ABRSM graded sight reading books, which I would also recommend, and I will leave a link to those in the description as well. Also in month 3, I would add B major and F major to your collection of scales and focus on the fingering. For those two scales, they are slightly different. In month 4, you're going to want to use the triads in C major and G major to make up chord progressions, and you can try and use the scales to make up melodies. At this point as well, I would get used to sight reading 2 pieces every time you practice. You also want to try and work out bass lines by ear of a few songs that you like. And in month 4, I would also add B flat major and E flat major to your list of scales. In month 5, you want to learn about triplets and ornaments in music reading. I would also learn about chord inversions and make a chord progression using those chord inversions. You want to continue to sight read 2 exercises every time you sit down to play, and I would start learning 1 to 2 harder pieces at the same time, making sure that you don't glaze over anything in the pieces you don't know. I would also add A flat major and D flat major to your list of scales. In month 6, I would start trying to play triad chords using more difficult scales. You want to learn about dominant 7th chords and what their function is. I would learn C, G, D, A and E major arpeggios and learn about relative minors, particularly natural minor scales. You should also continue to sight read 2 exercises per practice and learn 3 pieces simultaneously, focusing on problem solving and technical challenges. If you are interested in doing grades, this is the time to get the grade 1 book and start looking at it. You should have enough information by this point. In month 7, learn about major and minor 7th chords and get used to how they sound. I would also learn B, F, B flat and E flat major arpeggios and learn C, G, D, A and E minor arpeggios. This is also a good time to learn about harmonic minor scales and work out 3 harmonic minor scales of your choice. You're also going to want to practice using your ears still, so you're going to want to work out a bass line and what chords that song is using from the bass line. You should continue to sight read 2 exercises per practice, and I would also continue working on your 3 pieces of music. In month 8, you want to learn about diminished 7th chords and their function, learn A flat major and D flat major arpeggios, learn B, F, B flat and E flat minor arpeggios, learn 2 more harmonic minor scales of your choice, and at this point I would also learn about melodic minor scales, working out 3 melodic minor scales of your choice. As ever, you should continue to sight read 2 exercises per practice and continue working on your 3 pieces. At this point, if one of them is complete, then you should replace it with a different piece. I realise at this point some of this might sound confusing if you haven't done any piano before, but hopefully it'll highlight how much information you can actually learn in the space of a year. So in month 9, I would learn about what a perfect and an imperfect cadence is and how they are used. Check that you are comfortable with all your major scales and all your major arpeggios at this point, because you should have learnt them all, and learn A flat and D flat minor arpeggios. I would also learn 3 more harmonic minor scales of your choice, learn 2 more melodic minor scales of your choice, and learn 3 dominant 7th arpeggios of your choice. I would also work out a song by ear, working out the bass line, the chords from the bass line, then try and work out the melody. Continue to sight read 2 exercises per practice, and continue to learn 3 pieces of music simultaneously. If one is complete, then replace it similar to the previous month. In month 10, you want to learn about plagal cadences. Check your major scales, your major arpeggios, and your minor arpeggios. You want to learn the remaining 3 harmonic minor scales that you haven't learnt yet, and learn 3 more melodic minor scales of your choice. I would also learn 2 dominant 7th arpeggios of your choice, and work out some more songs by ear, following the structure of learning the bass line, and then the chords from that bass line, and then the melody. You want to find ways of enhancing that performance as well at this point. Change where it is on the piano, use arpeggios instead of normal chords. Also try and improvise using scales and major 7th and minor 7th chords. You still want to continue reading your 2 exercises per practice, and you want to continue to learn 3 pieces of music simultaneously. And as ever, if one is complete, then replace it with a more challenging piece. In month 11, you want to learn about interrupted or deceptive cadences. Check your major scales, your major arpeggios, your minor arpeggios, your harmonic minor scales, and learn the remaining 3 melodic minor scales. You should also learn 3 more dominant 7th arpeggios of your choice. I would work out some more songs by ear, learn the major and minor blues scale in C, and improvise using these scales and triad chords. Continue to sight read 2 exercises per practice, continue to learn 3 pieces of music simultaneously, and once again, if you have completed one, then replace it with something slightly harder. And in the final month, month 12, you want to check all of your scales and learn the remaining dominant 7th arpeggios. You should work out songs by ear, you should improvise using major and minor blues scales and major and minor 7th chords, and you should prepare for your end goal. This is just a plan that is based on adding information each month, but without knowing your exact circumstance, you may or may not find that this plan needs adapting. This is why there is no real replacement for a good teacher that is looking at your exact situation. However, if you do need any help or advice, then ask away in the comments, and I will always try my best to be as detailed as I possibly can to make sure that you have all the information that you need. So, having said that, how are you going to measure success and test yourself? Well, you can measure success in a number of ways. You could take an exam, you could perform, or you could aim to record some pieces of music. If you are not interested in performing, then aiming to record yourself on a certain date this time next year may be a good way to hold yourself accountable. So more specifically, in that recording, that exam, or that performance, you can measure success by playing 3 to 4 specific pieces, such as exam pieces. You could be working out several songs by ear and recording those pieces. You could perform a jazz piano solo. You could use music theory to write a song. You could be really bold and aim to sight read a piece for a recording. All of these will provide you with an objective level of success based on the outcomes that we have set. Throughout this process, you may find it hard to stay on task, so in order to make sure you are making the most out of your time, you want to be making sure you are actually practicing instead of just playing, which is a mistake that most self-taught pianists make. So to find out how you can avoid doing that, head on through and I will see you there.